Hello. So here we are back again for part 2. And the thing with this conversation is we could actually probably sit here all afternoon and talk about all of these things. So we're going to try and keep it succinct for you. In part 2, we're going to give you some tools that we personally use that have worked for us. And actually, really, in doing this, it's really important, as we mentioned in part 1, that we are our own healers.
Yes.
That when we go to see somebody, they're a facilitator that can hold the container for you. They can do readings for you, whatever it may be. They can be your person where, like, they're your counselor, your mentor, your reader, and can give recommendations. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to Chantal, and how important it is that we are the ones that need to do the work, or we're not going to learn, we're not going to move forward. And with every situation that happens with us, past, present, or future, really truly have that belief in yourself, and that takes work. I have this little formula I've talked about before, and I know that self-love has been done to death and people roll their eyes and all kinds of reactions with it. But love is the highest vibration. If we can't love ourselves, it's very hard for other people to sustain loving us. But it's self-love equals self-worth equals self-confidence,
yes,
equals attraction, equals manifestation. And to be able to live the life that we truly desire, for me, the biggest lesson was learning to love myself. And as a young person, I had no idea what that meant or how to do it. But I do now, and life experiences have taught me that. And some of them have been very harsh, as for many people. So we trust that you will take on board what is going to work for you. And what we say is not gospel. I've always said this to my students when I lectured professionally for 13 years. I had to teach by the textbook. I had to teach, it was very hard. We weren't allowed to bring in a lot of the energetical, spiritual stuff. Although we did, we weren't supposed to. So trust what aligns and resonates. Feel into your heart. Feel into your gut. And let go, and this will take practice, of the logic, and trust yourself, because we've mentioned it. We are the ones that know what we need above anything or anybody else. It is not a facilitator or any kind of support person that you go to, a doctor or anything. It's not for them to tell you what you have to do. They give you options and recommendations. And then it's about coming into ourselves and trusting. And I say that too, because having a child that was born with a life-threatening condition, at 6 months young, diagnosed with a second life-threatening condition. And there were some things that I went into battle with the medical system and the school systems, because my gut, my instincts were totally against what they were telling me. But don't get me wrong, she survived through modern medicine, and I brought in every other aspect of any kind of healing to support her, so that they all worked together. And this is what I invite you to do. Take the tools, search for the tools, take what works for you, bring them together, because everything in synergy becomes far more potent. And you are the one that has created that. You've created that toolkit for yourself to use to help yourself stand in your power, to help yourself do what you need to do, and know that all of that actually comes from you. You've made those choices.
Yeah.
Chantal.
Thank you. And I think coming back to it becomes then the sum of all parts. And just as we were talking about that, I remember years ago when I was doing my Gestalt therapy training, we had this American trainer come out, and he was short, and there was something about him I didn't like apart from him being short, but it added to his, I won't say what else, but there was an arrogance about him. Also, he was very good at what he did. But I'd watched him sort of in my observation, and because at that point I hadn't gone so deep into my work, was how he was annihilating people, having them in tears and upsetting them. I thought, nah, he's not going to do that to me. Something had told me he's not going to do that to me. It was bullying. And our trainers, again, that's a whole other story, allowed this to happen. But again, because you don't know, and he's the expert brought out from America, all this sort of stuff. And I remember sitting there going, right, I'm going to have the courage, and I'm going to say to him, and I did. I said, I'm actually not looking forward to working with you. I don't like you. And I don't want to be, and I don't know where that came from, but it came out. He said, okay. He was brilliant, because what he did was he got me to lie on the floor with him. So we're lying on the floor looking at each other, and he goes, right, do you like chocolate cake? Well, yes, you do. Right, do you like the egg raw? No. Do you like the flour raw? No. But you like the chocolate cake. And I really loved that, because what he showed me was, and then we had the best exquisite piece of work, because I had the courage to say to him, no.
Yes.
And I had listened and acted on it. See, and then I again lost sight of it to come back to it again. So, and I was reading just recently in someone else's memoir about we lose critical thinking skills. So we don't have them, but when we go into, like, she had been in a religion, this woman, and it was in Australia, and I'm very fundamentalist. And what I really appreciated was her saying how she then realized she was actually a lesbian, and how that didn't fit in, and all the things that came out of it. And then she lost her job as a teacher when she decided, no, I have to honor me first, and all the story that went through it. But she said what happened was that, see, through being in the church and in that way of thinking, so I'm also then taking it into, oh my God, how I did it in the spiritual word. She took it as, well, I'm using the word gospel, but she lost critical thinking. She just took it as what they said was true, and anyone outside of that thinking didn't count.
Yes, yes, yes. I used to say to my students, what I tell you is not all there is. I realized I didn't come back to that. And I used to encourage them to go and explore. And one of their assignments when learning essential oils was no textbooks, nothing that I have given you. I want you to choose one oil, and I want you to live with it, explore it, experience it, and then present that to me however you like at the end of the term. I used to get cakes, poetry, stories, collages, artworks. And one of the biggest things that used to come through was thank you, because I actually saw it as a more, like, it's so much bigger than the words and the qualities that we're given.
That's right. And it's interesting you say that, because that's what I'm also learning about crystals, because I got caught up again, my way of thinking had to make sense, that you use a certain crystal for a certain thing. Then over a period of time, someone said, just pick up the crystal. So here, like, pick up this one. So that would be heart, that would be rose quartz. But what else does it, why did I pick that one up? What was it about that one that I chose? How does it feel in my hand? So again, it's becoming back to critical thinking and to feeling, into feeling into it. And I think something you said is, we were talking about this, that when we are our own healers. See, like you said, again, we are our own healers, but when you go first into healing, what do? And these are my words, you hand over your power. You want someone else to help heal you. You want someone else to fix it for you. Because it's too hard to do. yeah, take it away. There's that magic fix. So this is what we get caught up in. Then I took that into how I ran my business with coaches. They're going to give me the magical way of doing it. They succeeded. Come and buy my program, because this is how, they say I succeed. This is how you'll make money, how you'll do this. But there's no critical thinking in there. There's no me in there. So, of course, I went and bought all this. Didn't happen. Oh, I'll go to the next one. Effectively, what I was doing was basically chasing the same story that they were giving. It was just couched in their own personality, slightly different words. But I was, again, buying into that because I was not being taught how to actually run the business on my terms. Yes, there's certain structures we need. Yes, there's certain ways of doing it. And I'm doing this now through my email list. When you come onto my email list, because I had to let go of it all. So again, I had to let go of everything of I knew it. So I stepped into my sacred place a few years ago, went, right, who am I? Who do I want to be? Unbind myself from everything, personally and in business. And so it took me longer than I expected. And at the beginning of the year, when my memoir coach said to me, now you're going to do this, this, and this, I literally, thank God she was on Zoom and living in England, not here, I lost it. How dare you? And I don't want to do it that way. And I had an absolute tantrum. No way, no way, no way am I going to do anything like that. Then she said, right, it's time. Then she held me and said, right, it's time to write your memoir. So we let go of all that stuff that she was going to tell me to do. Came back to my mem. Guess what? I have an email list now. I have a freebie now because I'm doing it on my terms.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it that way.
My freebie I agree.
It's the most freeing thing you can do, but we don't get it because we've been so drummed into it.
Well, we're brainwashed. We allow ourselves to be brainwashed because...
Exactly right. We are being brainwashed. We aren't taught to go, and it's how do I go against the norm? So I was looking into coming back into this, and at the moment it's my Akashic records, but we can look at it meditation too. I was actually looking at, does anyone else here say that healing from trauma doesn't have any Akashic records? Not one, two. I found 2 sites. And I'm not good at that actually said that. All the rest was come in, we do this, we do that, we take you into the past, we can heal you from trauma, childhood trauma. No, I went, no one there has sat there and gone it's like, so now then I felt like, oh, who am I to say that? Who am I to say and go against all these people and all these teachers and all these things to say, actually, no, I don't agree with that. Doesn't mean it isn't effective. I'm not saying that.
No,
that
I
it
hear,
is.
I hear
but
you.
To actually say that it heals you from trauma, it's like, and people believe, because we do. I got caught up in that because I wanted
in a society that wants everybody else or something else to fix us, and we want it now. So I'll give you an example, right? I, over the years with my perfumery, I might take 3 months to make a perfume from my collection. I know the formula and I can sit down and plug it out and send it off. And people say to me, why do you take so long? People want things now. And I said, I don't care. Then if they can't wait for a perfume, that I'm going to, even though I have 4 collections, I still exclusively make that perfume for that person. And because I go into ritual and I infuse them into the perfume. And it's not a process of pull out the oils and bang, bang, bang. Yeah, I can do that. And a lot of people do it, but I won't, because I don't want to do it like that. If they want something like that, go to somebody else. And people say, Jesus, Julie, you're really doing yourself out of business. And I said, no, what I'm doing is I'm retraining people.
Yes.
We are trained.
Yes.
And it's like, if you don't, and I always say to people up front, it could be in 4 weeks' time, it could be in 12 weeks' time, because I go on my feelings, because I know, I taught this, how I'm feeling is going to affect the outcome aroma of the perfume. And I tap into the person. So this, I'm not talking about a bespoke perfume. I'm talking about one that's from a collection, because I'll always jump on a call with them and say, what do you want this perfume for? How do you want to feel? So it's not like plucking it off the shelf. So, and another thing about that is that people say, oh, when you're doing stuff, you've got to capture people's attention in the first 3 seconds. Yes. People have been fucking brainwashed to believe that, honestly. And I wrote about this not so long ago, and I've talked about it. And I said, I'm sorry, but we have to learn to help these people untrain this bullshit. Because you know why? This is people wanting to control us. I'm going down again another little rabbit hole that we won't go down. But you have to think for yourself. Don't believe that if you're not captured by something in the first few seconds, that it's not going to be right for you. How could you possibly know? Honestly. How
exactly right.
And then they'll talk about the get to know, like trust. If you only look at somebody for 3 seconds, how the fuck can you get to know, like trust them? It is such a contradiction.
It is such a contradiction. I agree with you, and I like that, because it's also, because I got caught up in that too, like you've got to have a truly captivating subject title, because there's so many. Then you can't write long posts, only write short ones. And the way I do it now is the way when I write a post, because mine tend to be long, then I was told, oh, we'll ask you guides to shorten it for you. So again, you know, that you ask them to come in and help you to write it shorter. And I think also with certain things, perhaps you can, but with healing, I don't think you can. Plus, I want to weave the story.
But I believe in our guides and angels, but they are me.
Exactly right, because I'm allowing. Exactly, and I'm allowing it to flow through me. This is exactly it. And I realize now when I look at posts, 2 things. If they're too long, it might be just I'm not in the right mood. But I realize that I want to give you as the reader the discernment. See, we're taking away discernment. I want you to be able to go, you know, today I want to read that. Today I want to skim it. Today I'll just feel the energy.
Yes. And
that's how I see it. And it might be that I skim the bulk of it, but I get the essence of it and I get the end.
Yes, I do the same. I'm different. Sometimes I'll sit and read a big long thing. Other times I'll skim and something will grab my attention. And the thing is, we're all attracted by it. Some of us are seeing. I'm very visual. You know what? Words don't necessarily attract me. I feel for a start, so I'm feeling the person's energy, and visuals are so important to me that before I've looked at anything else, I'll look at what appeals to me on a visual level. So we have to look at what attracts us. Is it the words? Is it the sound? Is it the visuals? Is it the, you know, like bring in the VKA, the visuals, the kinesthetic, the audio, and then the feelings, which is partly kinesthetic, but energetically. And we will all be drawn in by different elements. Make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with you. And this is what I feel with a lot of the trainings, because I follow someone who's big in Instagram, and I've decided to stop because she does it in a certain way that has worked for her. It didn't work for me. So again, because I realized I was trying to buy into her energy. And then remember, for a while there, you had to have your feed so curated, you know, to make it look lovely. Oh my God. It's like, I couldn't do that. I didn't want to do it. It was like, it wasn't me anymore. So again, how can I give you, say to you, oh, come and do the work with me to heal, to connect with yourself, when I'm so disconnected with how I'm trying to portray myself.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas for me, it's got to be beautiful, but that's my essence.
Exactly right. And some will love it, some won't. And I think that's a really important point we're making here is, so again, like with you, the work you do with me is when you come in, and particularly if you're a business owner as well, but it can be anything, let's look at, and I'm going to use, coming back to that word, blind faith, because we do get blinded by things, by our stories, by what we're meant to do, how we're meant to do it, how we're meant to be as a woman, person, business, whatever. So like you said, where's that control? And that's actually can be quite hard to actually acknowledge that you have been controlled, that you haven't done critical thinking, because it can bring up senses of shame. And because I know for me, I'm intelligent, but for a long time I began to question, was I really? Because I didn't know how to pull things apart to actually see that. So I just went with blind faith and somehow got caught up. And also what I found interesting, where I also got caught up in it all, was when I started seeing, and it's an observation and mine, so I want to own this too, because again, we need to own our observations, even if they go against the grain.
Everything.
Pardon?
We've got to own everything.
That's exactly right. Now look now, and I look at a lot of women who are saying, oh, I'm going to do business differently spiritually in that, but there's still a formula. They're still doing it a certain way. I'm seeing this, but it's become couched in, I'm being spiritual, I'm working with energy, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yeah. And I'm looking at it going, really? Because I can still see the formula. Yet, you know, even like the way we are taught to write marketing posts, particularly in the group that we're in, it's lovely. But again, you got to do this, to do this, to do this, and put the offer at the end. No, I'm starting to put the offer at the beginning.
Doesn't align neither can I. Me, it never has, and that's why it hasn't worked for me.
That's honestly, right.
It's just not me. And I used to really get upset when I would go, like, literally thousands and thousands of dollars on going to events and things like that, and they'd say,
yes,
fake it till you make it. And yes. I used to go, oh my God. And I really had to let that go, because for me, in the area of work that I'm in, you can't fucking fake understanding essential oils or astrology. And if you do, shame on you. I'm just going to say it, because we have to be, knowledge is power. And I say that in a positive way, in coming from a business or personal aspect. When we educate ourselves, we can then come from a true place of authenticity, truth, honesty, because these are really core values from me. You can't pretend something because you're playing with other people's lives, whether it be business, personal, or whatever. That is very unethical.
It is. Look, I agree with
their trust in you. And like you said, we know that people come to us because they want us to fix them. And I always say to people, I give you the tools. I can give you recommendations. I can give you a bundle of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's that consistent action from you, the client or friend, that is going to make the difference. That's how I've made the difference for myself in life. I've had to do the work. And you make it fun, you make it pleasurable. And it's like, I love what I do. I love what I do, and I live and breathe what I recommend.
And I think that's the most important point, is you live and breathe, because that makes it really real, as you said, and it makes it exactly true. So this is coming back to what the question was, who are you? You know,
who are you?
And this is why, again, the work that we do is about telling someone, it's helping them find who they are, not making clones of us. And I think the other thing, because you do that too, like, I love the way you take time. I do that too. I say, look, these are the tools that worked for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they work for you, but it might be like with meditation, because I'm big into it, have for years.
Yeah, I love
But I also realized it can be a form of bypassing. It can be. So because we all sit and meditate, we might go to yoga and retreats. Again, I'm learning, looking at yoga. I don't know about over there, but I think it's Australia. But anyhow, here, I know yoga teachers that got to Bali for 3 weeks, come back, I'm a yoga teacher now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's losing that essence. Come, and like Reiki now, you can do 1, 2, 3, a mastership in a weekend.
Well,
so
dare I say, like multi-level marketing, essential oils, they do some workshops for a weekend, and then they're telling people how to use essential oils. And now in Australia, we've got this massive poisoning pandemic from people using essential oils the wrong way. And guess where it all comes from? Not the professionals that have spent,
no.
3 or 4 more years studying and learning and having case studies, and because no one person is the same as well.
That's right. And they don't take things into account around that, and they call themselves wellness advocates. So again, I think it's how we do this? How do we work with this? So I know I had a client a while ago who found meditating difficult. And I had to say to you, and she was like, oh, how could you? So again, you've got to learn to be discerning. And I think something you said, how you are feeling as a therapist is going to affect. So this is what people don't realize who go into these esoteric things, that if you haven't worked out all your stuff, it is going to go across on that. And then your client will take what you said as read rather than going, actually, that doesn't fit. Because even though it might not fit, oh, but they said it, so it has to be right.
Yeah, no. And I always check in, you know, it's like, how does that feel? Does that resonate with you? And I say to them, if it doesn't, say so, because we will go down another pathway.
But you see, we've got to help people, and women in particular, find that voice, because I didn't in the past. I didn't. And also because they say with certain things, you've got to ask questions. But if you don't know what questions to ask, you need someone skilled to guide you into finding the correct questions to ask you to become discerning. So with this client, when we're doing the meditation, I said, okay, what would you do? How would you do it? She said, oh, blah, 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 blah. And she came back so excited because she'd worked a way of doing meditation in her own way.
Her own way.
In her own way. So again, if we're not careful, we get caught up. What does mindfulness mean? Like, again, someone says you don't need to meditate in solitude. No, I found that's the way that works best for me, is in solitude.
Me too. But we don't necessarily have to sit down and close our eyes and go. I love guided meditations, and sometimes for me, my favorite thing is to go and sit out on Turtle Rock, I've called it, and I gaze over the mountains and I sit there and I'm in contemplation. And that is a meditative state for me.
Exactly. That's right.
With my unicorns.
Yeah.
Sit and I'm totally in that world. I lose the concept of time, and nothing else is going on my head when I'm nose to nose with one of my horses and we're going like this on the lips, and I'm just saying, I love you so much. And their heart energy is so expansive. That to me is another form of meditation.
Absolutely. And I think coming back to guided meditation, because this is something when I first started, I wanted to teach people. Guided meditations are one thing, but again, in someone else's words, someone else's energies, it's actually not taking you in. So I wanted to teach people how to meditate or be with themselves in that silence or in that solitude. So again, it's like what I'm learning now, again, having been told to stop meditating, well, not stop, but do it in a different way as well, was now I sit down. When I sit down quietly or go for my walk in solitude, I just allow, now I do both, but now I just allow things to come up. I have no agenda, because see, I still had an agenda. I still was out there. Sometimes I still want to work things through, like something happens in that. But now to allow it to come up from my body, come up from nature. And it's a whole different feeling and way of being, because that's where our essence lies. That is where our knowing is, our wisdom.
Yes.
That's where we get the strength from, not up here. So I didn't realize. I thought I was doing it. Yes. I didn't want to be told I wasn't doing it. But then when finally, I got this, as I call it, a big slap, it has changed the way I think, feel, am dramatically. It's taken off. And my belief in myself, my inner strength, my wisdom, my confidence has taken on a hue, a color, an energy that I never expected, that I didn't realize that I was still on this surface.
Yes.
Not going deep within.
Yeah.
It was really powerful.
Absolutely. And I so get it. And there's a couple of things like with guided meditations or visualizations. I do them, but and I never plan them. I have no idea what's going to come up and what's going to be said. And the thing is, some people need that, but also, again, I always say to people, whatever I say doesn't have to be what you visualize. So
yes,
I'm holding the container and I might be guiding them into something. However, it's like, and this happens to me, I often go off on my own tangent. Somebody else is taking us through a guided visualization, and sometimes I'm there, but all my own things come in, and it's about allowing that receiving. And that's what I say to people when I take them through a meditation. Don't worry, my work, you know, if something completely different comes up for you, go with it. That's what you go with. And looking, you know, allow, probably not searching for, but it's, in fact, no, that's not what we want to do. But I say to them, like, are there symbols coming in for you? Are there colors? Are there smells? What it, you know, like, it's their words. What is it that's there? We might be in a forest. We might be floating on a lotus flower. But what are you experiencing while you're doing that?
And it's interesting you say, because that's how I was taught all those years ago. He taught it as insight meditation because it becomes yours. And coming back, like you said, to the guided meditations, two things I'm coming back to. I think, again, useful as a tool, useful to get you started, but how do you make it your own? And don't fully rely on them. See, we rely on them. Whereas for me, why I couldn't listen to them, because when you've gone through trauma, have PTSD, you have become so hypersensitive to sound, smell, noise, anything like that. I couldn't even listen to music. I couldn't even have meditations with music in them either. So I still don't do guided meditations. I just can't. It's just, and I've learned to do that. So what I'm wanting people to be able to, again, come to discriminate. Sometimes it's good to have a guided meditation. How can you make it your own?
Feel like.
And do what you feel like, and then make it. I still am a big believer in making it your own, because again, we'll just go from one guided meditation to the next, to the next, to the text. Because again, you're doing a filling up. You're doing a filling up rather than
exploration yourself up to receiving. So I have a myriad of things I do. And because I meditate at night, because I've, since having my daughter and being trained through external influences like hospitals or having to feed my daughter every 2 hours, I became an insomniac. So I trust what feels right for me. Sometimes I like listening to affirmations at night, and I'm not necessarily listening to them, it's soothing. There's a particular woman I like listening to because I just love her voice. Sometimes I do ASMR, other times I just do noises. Like, I love white noise. I always have. When I was a kid, when one of my elder sisters was vacuuming, I used to follow them along the floor and lie down. You know how they used to blow out one end? I loved that sound, and it was really dreamy, and I used to get goosebumps. Or when my mum was running a bath at night, because back in those days in New Zealand, showers didn't really exist in homes. So we were a bit more like the English. You only had baths, and so it was right opposite our bedroom, and so we'd be popped into bed. Mum would run a bath, and I still love that sound. But I love sounds like that because it triggers beautiful memories for me.
Yes.
So the memory, and other times it might be story reading. I listen to story reading at nighttime, which I love, really low. And again, I like a particular Englishman's voice, and I love it. And I constantly change. Sometimes I'll put something on and I'll lie back and go, no, I don't want this tonight. And then I'll put on something else. And then I use my essential oils or perfumes. You know, that's my favorite thing.
Right. And
to wind down my nervous system.
That's it. And I think that's another thing when I massaged all those years ago, I would put on music, and then I learned to ask, do you like this or not? Because I could feel it, because we're also taught, particularly as women, not just actually, I don't like the music. The men were quite happy to say, no, I don't like that. But we as women, so I said, look, if you really don't like the music, we change it, because you could feel that you don't understand there's a subtle agitation in your body. And again, it's like coming back to voices. Everyone loves, a lot of people, I kept thinking, everyone loves Deepak Chopra. I could not stand his voice. It just doesn't resonate. But anyhow, someone suggested I join them to do that 30-day or whatever, or 21-day challenge. And because I had changed and I was in a different space, I still don't love his voice, but I was able to listen and get his message, because I didn't like his voice even. I couldn't even get the message. I couldn't
That's
do anything.
correct. Yeah.
So
You've
again,
got to
I thought I was
align
going,
with it.
that's right, because again, I thought, oh my God, I'm going against the grain. Everyone thinks he's marvelous. And I'm thinking, well, he is marvelous, but I didn't like his voice. And so
Yes.
these are the things that you learn. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. Just because everyone else is,
Yeah.
don't
You
listen to
don't
it,
have
don't
to
do
be a
it, don't.
sheep.
Exactly. Exactly. But
But you don't have to follow the crowd. I am not a crowd follower. I do like
right.
Deepak's philosophies and all of that, but
Yes.
I'm not into guru. I
No.
do not agree for me, because you're not being you. I follow my own set of rules. I follow my own beliefs, and that I've actually always been like that, even from a little girl, but I never knew. I
Yes.
mean, hell, when I was something like 7 years old, I said to my mother, I'm never going to get married, but I'm going to have lots of babies.
Mm.
It's like, well, I had one baby, but I'm not into marriage, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because I was similar to you until I had the car accident, because I couldn't understand how I had lost sight of this strong, well, woman. But clearly, again, coming back to what we were saying earlier in the previous one, the accident gave me a different level of awareness, of a different level of being able to be rebellious on another level, because suddenly I went from being this, I'm not going to do that, to I'm going to follow exactly. But that's because when you go into deep trauma, you need to feel safe.
Yeah, I was just about to say that it is about safety.
It's
so
about,
obviously, through my later, like I would say from my 30s up, I am like, when I think of the things that I had to be as a mother, and I did have to be that, but it actually came very easy to me. And then I learned later, when I studied astrology, oh my God, that's where it's come from. So that's something that it's good for people to understand too, is that getting to know yourself. I've got an exercise I would like to, perhaps we can finish off. You can offer something too. But I have an exercise that I'm using in my challenge, because I do 4 21-day challenges a year. And I sort of slightly vary them. And it's a question. It's like, who am I? And then I'm going to invite you to write down whatever comes, whether it be good or negative, whatever you want to call it. So it might be, like for me, I can rattle stuff off because I've just owned it now. Like, I'm bodacious, I'm sexy, I am compassionate, I'm a great empathy. I have great empathy. I'm highly intuitive. I also know that if I'm pushed, I'll just fucking take somebody down if I have to. Like, I can be vicious. I have the potential to be vicious, but I know that about myself, and I have learned how to bring that into, instead of coming from a disempowered way, I come from a very empowered aspect. And so write down whatever comes down and have a look at it and have a ponder, and don't be upset with you if stuff comes out that you don't particularly like. We are made up of so many different bits and pieces and energy and flesh and cells, and just own all of you, because that is when you can grow. Like, I used to be ashamed because I was quite aggressive when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it was, where it came from? I didn't love myself. And because I'd been raped and abused, I didn't think I was worthy. I couldn't imagine anybody loving and caring for me.
And I'm going to come in here too, because when I first started doing this, I didn't know what to write. So what I'm going to say to those of you, it can be as simple as starting but not knowing. So what I used to say is, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. It might be, I just say my name's Chantal, or I'm Australian, or I'm a whatever. So that gets you started. It just, so that's how I started. Because if you'd said to me, I don't know, because again, who are you? I taught this years, who am I? Like you, I don't know. So I didn't know how to write anything down, because also in particular, because the negatives were so powerful in me, that I felt shame and it was hard work to write even those down. Now I do it because, like you, I own that part of me. So if anyone who's starting this and you don't know where to start, because it's hard when you've got a blank page.
That's a jolly good point.
Sitting in front of you and you're going, I don't know, just write, I don't know, or your name or your birthday or where you live, or in
favorite
fact,
food, your pets,
yes,
like anything
and I don't
you love.
That's and I don't have the book here, but Julie. That's right, but Julie Cameron talks about this to do it's stream of consciousness. She just says write it the whole anything down. But another exercise she gives was, and I sometimes do too, and I don't know, is write how you get up in the morning, what you do. So write something that you know. I get out of bed, I clean my teeth, I have my breakfast, and I have muesli for breakfast. That gets you started. Then go into, then it'll start coming. Then you can start, perhaps this is again just a suggestion, that, well, as I do that, who am I? You know, do I sleep well at night? Am I a night person? Am I a morning person? Am I a, and then that's how you can then start, because feelings can be a lot harder to write down and who you are. Because again, we're not taught to say, I'm sexy, bodelicious, delightful, exciting.
God, no, we're not supposed to do all of that. You know,
exactly right. So I'm just bringing in another side to get you started, because now I can write that down.
But mostly. I'm also going to check in and say, I'm going to recommend that you don't write a whole page of I don't know, I don't know, I don't know,
right.
because then you're going to tell yourself that you won't be able to unblock yourself. For me personally, because I know when I'm stuck or I'm feeling really down, I actually say those words. I don't know, what is going on? And actually, those words don't help me.
Yeah, however, and I think what you're doing is you're bringing up a good point here, because again, agree to disagree, I get that point, but sometimes writing it down, that's at least it's getting you writing, at least it's getting you here, at least it's starting. So again, I think it's about at least, because as you said,
I think it's good to write it down, but don't spend doing the whole page with just those three verbs.
No, I disagree. That's what I'm saying. This is where the difference is. Sometimes that might be all you can do in that page.
I hear you.
That's all I'm saying. Because otherwise, again, you might be saying to someone, like for me, it's like, I can't write a whole page of this. I'm getting it. So again, I'm just getting a different point of view. Sometimes that's all you can do. And that is okay.
I totally hear that, because we're all in different, and this is the beauty of conversations like this, because we're looking at other people's experiences. And this gives you the opportunity to look at yours and hear that Chantal and I are saying, this was my experience. It may be yours, it may be not. This is my recommendation because it worked for me. So be open to exploring, because none of us are right or wrong. We're being real and raw with conversations and sharing, and it may inspire you. It may trigger something awesome. It may trigger something not so great, that then you can go, oh, that's interesting. I'm just gonna process and play and dance with that and work through it. So yes.
And I think also it's giving you, the listener, it's giving you permission, so you can see Julie does it this way, Chantal does it that way. Oh, I can do it my way, and that is okay. And that's why, as you said, when there's a trust between each other, we can share. See, once upon a time, when I was at my worst, I could never have gone against you and said, actually, no, I just would have gone, yes,
me too.
Julie, you know,
totally.
I couldn't have done that.
But we have respect for each other.
That's right.
We understand each other. We've done the work. And who the fuck am I to say, that is wrong? I'm saying to you, no, that doesn't work for me, because we have to trust ourselves. And again, just in saying that, the beauty of coming to and working towards owning your own power and standing in your power, because I was exactly like you were. We never used to be able to say our truth to somebody else. We'd go along with their truth, even if it was like, you know, didn't work for me. But you can see that see, we've lived it too, and we've still got much to learn. I want to be
Yes.
a Centurion plus dancing on the street. I've got too much to learn and do in my life. And so understanding that, my God, having a conversation with a group of people where you can sit and you're nodding and going, yes, yeah, I get that. Yeah, even though you might have a different opinion, that is loving yourself,
It
knowing that
is,
you're worthy
and
and that you are confident within
it is,
yourself.
and I think it's also called democracy as well, because we're having two sides. There's two sides, there's always two different opinions. And one more thing I'd like to bring very briefly is also tapping.
Oh,
Because
I
you
love
taught a certain
tapping.
way how to tap. I love tapping too. But again, I'm learning to say to clients, just do it in your way. Again,
Yes.
so when I start the words, sometimes they don't, again, I don't know. So I said, right, let me start, and then you tune in, and then you go off on your own journey. So again, using tapping to suit you and your words and doing it your own way. So I no longer go through the formula, because that's how it was taught. So again, I stuck to that. Now I just tap whenever I want, how I want.
Yeah.
And again, it's on the negative, the positive. And again, so it's a beautiful. So again, coming back to these tools, it's
Tool.
all these tools is how do you make them your own? Now, having said that, and then that'll be my last note, is you do still need to have the foundation.
Yes.
You have to have the foundation, because once you've got the foundation, then you can then make it.
Build.
So that was for me. Then you build on it, make your own. That was for me
Yeah.
important. So I needed to be taught how to, do these certain things. Then you go off on your own. That is where for me the freedom came, and the
Yes.
trust and belief in myself,
And we
and
can
the love.
help with those tools. But yes, like, I don't believe somebody should be with us forever.
That's
Some
right. I
people want
agree.
to hold on to their clients and they want to, it's like we work with people until they've received what they need to receive from us,
That's right.
and vice versa. And I can say the same about essential oils. Like, sometimes I'm recommending intuitively essential oils for people, and they might go, oh, I hate lavender. And I go, well, that's okay. Don't use it. Get rid of it. But what do you feel drawn to? What lights you up, whether it be essential oils, food, affirmations, meditation, tapping? Trust what lights up and sparks in here. And that's when you're opening yourself up to receiving.
Exactly. And it gives you confidence in all areas of your life.
And it's fun.
Yes. And it becomes fun because there's a freedom. You're unbound. There's a freedom. There's a joy. And there's just, it's just so delightful. I'm loving life now in a way I didn't expect. And if you're going to say, I learned a lesson from the car accident, which I'll never say again, you're learning a lesson, because I just think, again, it's a negation. I know I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't had the car accident and chosen to keep going. So now, instead of saying I'm healing in my life, I'm creating my life. I'm
Oh, that
creating
is
my
so
life.
good. I mean, I say I'm healing from past things, but I'm choosing to create
Exactly. So
a
there's
different.
that.
Yes,
Exactly.
and words are
Exactly.
important. Words are
No,
very important.
yeah,
Wow. This has been fantastic. And
it has, hasn't
Chantal
it?
and
Oh,
I are going to do all different kinds of chats. We're doing new moon chats and explorations on her channel, and here we're going to do other kinds of chats, because it's just, this is life, isn't it? This is what it's
yes.
about. This is connection. This is building community. And you can agree to disagree, which I think is one of the best sayings, because
Exactly.
we and this then offers, like, I want to honor other people. I want to respect their thoughts, feelings, and as long as they're not a really bad person and out to harm people. But because, see, I'm continuously learning by having other conversations,
Yes.
having conversations with other people, because I know myself, I can be quite opinionated. I own it.
Yes.
And that's okay. But, I have always said to people, I don't expect you to agree with me. I just have an opinion and I want to share it. You don't have to agree with me at all, and that doesn't affect me. And that's where we want you to be.
That's right. And exactly, because it's where you've got to come to, because I couldn't have done that before. Because again, I'm now always back about safety. It's always about
Oh, yes,
safety,
we've got to
and
feel
safety,
safe.
not only in the universe, but safety in my body. And then I realized my body needed to also feel safe with me. And that's a whole nother
That
conversation we can
is.
have. So I turned that around.
Mm.
So that's it. Anyhow, I suppose we could carry on, hadn't we? And I'm
We
actually,
could, but let us talk more on another one of these. And
yes.
of course, our links will be in the show notes. If you have comments, that's fine. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. It doesn't affect us, but it's important for you to be able to say what you want to say without being distasteful or disrespectful. I always ask that people be respectful to
Yes,
one
I agree.
another. And so I'm looking forward to having more conversations with Chantal, because we get really excited and we both go down a rabbit hole. I know I'm fantastic. I'm a master of going off track. But
Yes, and I'm finding it hard to reel you back in. So even everyone who's watching, Julia has told me to stop. And it's like, I don't know quite how to do. I haven't mastered that yet without it sounding rude or impolite. So I will
I would never be offended.
I will
Just
learn.
say, Julie, you're going off track. And I go, oh shit, okay, let's get back to the conversation at hand. So my last words to you are, I really, from my heart, send love, because love for me is the most beautiful experience that we can give to ourselves and others. And that may you have a fucking amazing week. That's my favorite word. So you're always going to hear me say that. Chantal, do you have any last words?
I think if someone, I just said, the way I look at it is, and this is one of my taglines, she who feels free feels confident. Oh, no, sorry. She who feels confident also feels free. So whichever way, it's the other. So she who feels confident feels free, because there is such an incredible life when you feel free in your own beautiful, indomitable way.
And perhaps just before we finish off, is think about what certain words mean to you. Like, this can be really challenging for some people, but you can Google it and then just play with it. Freedom has been a core value for me, I think, forever. And it's still number one for my personal self. Freedom. And I'm such a rebel to receive that freedom.
That's right. And here we are going on. That's why I call my business
closing.
Unfold Your Freedom. We are closing about, because I call my business Unfold Your Freedom. It's taken me 8 years to step into that beautiful word of freedom. It was a concept. So again, everyone, it can be concept, then you bring it into reality, then you bring it into knowing. On that note, I'm saying goodbye.
Ciao, Bellas, and we'll see you again. Mwah. Trust you enjoyed this conversation. Bye for now.
Ciao.
Oh, hang on. I've done the wrong thing again.